Questions?
For anybody who's using LLMs these days, they seem to be more and more human or able to mimic
Why
human
don't you explain
outputs.
that just in case someone doesn't know what an LLM is?
An LLM is a large language model, hence the acronym. And they're these big tools that you see these days, like ChatGPT, Google's Bard, now Gemini, uh, and they're the AI models that are making a lot of noise, basically,
And the
these
reason
days.
they're making noise is they exceed most doctors on medical things. They exceed most biologists on taxonomy. They exceed most history students, and so on and so forth. They're getting to the level or above that of humans. So that's why they're important. But go ahead. Thank you.
Yes. Um, Part of that is that people are using them for more and more what we thought would be human applications. And one particularly uncanny valley-esque or scary-esque dystopian sci-fi application would be AI human romantic relationships in the style of that movie Her.
Okay.
Uh, One, I'm wondering, because it doesn't seem the conversation is starting or hasn't gone too deeply outside of that movie Her and a few contemplations, I guess. Are AI human relationships healthy? As in, could an AI satisfy that need in a human over the long term in a way that's actually okay for that person? And if not, are there ways to make them healthy? And yeah, that's what I'm curious about, really. Can it
Okay.
satisfy
Good.
that
Good. Good.
attentional
Good. Good.
need, that emotional need?
Good. There's a lot in there, but let's broaden it up a little bit. So there's the movie Her, but we also have the TV series Westwood, right?
Westworld.
Westworld. Thank you. Westworld. And then what was the one where some guy flies up to an island off of Seattle, off of Oregon or Washington State, and he's in an experimental complex, and some guy with a bushy beard is building uh, simulacrums of humans. What was that movie called?
Is that the Tarkovsky movie from the 70s?
No, this I don't think it's from the 70s. The robots are uniformly female and uniformly hot, and they dance together and socialize together. The test is, will he fall in love with an AI? What's the name of that
Okay.
movie?
I don't know.
It's not Inception. It's that's an important one too.
Sea Island. Well, there's also Blade Runner.
Well, okay, then we could put Blade Runner, but there's one more.
Anadyrmus.
Which one?
I'm saying Anadyrmus is a robot, I think, that Harrison Ford or
Okay,
Ryan Gosling or whatever falls in love with.
but this one is particularly important because it's the subject is exactly that. Um, you could look up the best sci-fi movies of the last 10 years, and it'll show up. Maybe 7 years. Probably be ranked as number one or two.
High Life? No. If this one's important, tell me what it is. It's somebody flies up to an island off the
Someone is
coast of.
flown up as an experimental subject, and the question to be answered is number one. Well, the question to be answered is: can an AI convince a man to fall in love with her, passing a more advanced Turing test? And they have these beautiful robots, females, but there's one. I mean, the experimenter has one Asian girlfriend, and they do things like dancing, and she cooks for him, and she takes care of all kinds of stuff. And he's put in this beautiful compound, and he's allowed somewhat free reign with this female android. It's not a cyborg; it's an android. Oh, let's see. I wish I had something to look it up with. Hey Google, name 5 sci-fi movies where human males fall in love with female androids.
Sorry, I didn't understand.
Hey Google, what are the best known movies in which human males fall in love with female androids?
Okay, here are some options, showing on master bedroom display. Which one would you like?
Option 2. I don't have a speaker here. I don't have a screen here. I just have a speaker.
Yeah. Her Ex Machina.
Ex Machina. That's it. Have you seen that?
Oh, I didn't think that was the one you were thinking of. Yes, of course I've seen Ex Machina.
All right. So good. So let's just use these. All right. For now. Now repeat the question. And then of course we could extrapolate from here. This is a starting point.
The question is fundamentally, are AI-human relationships healthy? Can an AI satisfy a human's attention, emotional needs in a way that's healthy for that human being over the course of time?
How long a course of time?
Let's say your average romantic relationship, 6 months to 2 years.
All right. We can do that. So, well, in the movie Her, that certainly did happen. Right?
Yes.
But she did not have a body.
Right.
In the movie Westworld, which was written by Michael Crichton, by the way, a doctor from my med school, he didn't so much get into the romantic aspects, but into the emotional aspects, and he illustrated how the danger is not so much for the human, but for the machine. Right? Remember Westworld, where they abused and mutilated and did horrible things to the robotics. In Blade Runner, we're dealing with cyborgs, are we not? So that's different.
Mm-hmm.
So let's leave cyborgs out for now.
For now, yeah.
And then in Ex Machina, I think we have the purest culture of what we're looking for, because there the experimental test was set up to find out, could it first of all deceive the human, which happened. No, and even though he knew it was a machine, could he fall in love with it? I think that was the premise. Yeah. And the question was, could he fall in love with it? And the answer, I think, would be yes. He did fall in love with it. And then, of course, being female, she no, that's a joke. She anyone who's not seen that movie must see it, right? Ex Machina.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go back to your question, and now we have some images in our mind, and we have a little vocabulary, because we have her, non-embodied. We have Ex Machina, definitely embodied, but doesn't look like a female. I mean, doesn't look completely like a female. She's got a female face, but the body is different. And then we have Blade Runner, where we're talking about cyborgs, and Westworld, where we're talking about more primitive robotics.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So now what's the question?
Could such an AI-human relationship, for example, with Ex Machina or Her, be healthy and productive for a human being? Like, is it necessarily such a dystopian bad thing?
Okay, you put in the word healthy, and that's a big value judgment. Unless we can agree on the definition, which would be able to function in the ambient society without causing themselves or others suffering.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll call that let's say adaptive relationship instead of healthy. Because some people would say that by definition is not healthy, to fall in love with a machine.
Sure.
And you could make that argument, but okay, now we're just talking about adaptive relationships. So what do you think?
If Ex Machina is in the indication, and I think it is, then for a large proportion of people, even knowing it's a machine, I think yes.
Okay, and
Just-
what about her who has no body? Her who just fits right into your Apple, whatever you call that thing, Apple Vision Pro, or into your Facebook Quest, or into your Xbox. I don't know what they call it on Xbox.
Her, yes. I
Okay.
thought a little bit about this, except there are limitations with older generations. Ex Machina type, I don't
Whoa,
think.
stop. Why do you say there's limitations with older generations?
So I know my generation, or anybody, let's say, under the age of 35, has grown up with MMORPGs. For anybody who doesn't know what those are, they're these online role-playing games like World of Warcraft, where millions of people are online and you're killing dragons together and whatnot. I played a good amount of that. I had friends in that game, and I know many others who did, that they would have never met in real life, and they were real relationships. Many people dated people through that game or otherwise.
It's
People
kind
have
of
found
like
their
Second
wives.
Life, like Second Life.
Yeah.
But those are humans on the other end, right?
They are humans on the other end.
So that's a totally different thing. Now, yeah, I don't think there's any doubt that one can form a relationship. It's like two blind people forming a relationship who can't touch each other, forming a relationship just with their voices.
Exactly. To some extent. I think that's a little bit more intimate because there are nuances to the human voice in person that are a little bit different. But I think you could easily dupe a human being in that online style with a sufficient advanced enough AI, and they could fall in love. And people have relationships for a year or 2 years that are not in person at all.
But okay. First of all, yeah, I have had cases in my lifetime where grown men have ruined their marriage because of a relationship that they had on Second Life. But I wouldn't call that, I wouldn't put it in the same category as her, Westworld, or Ex Machina, because we're not talking about AIs there, we're talking about humans using social technology or other technology to extend themselves. And so I don't think that's your question.
No, I'm using it as a jumping off point for the her one. But
her was no human. There was no human to her.
All right, agreed. But just the voice of an AI that is quite human-like and can tend to your needs and understands you very well and can comfort you.
Yeah.
That would work, but I don't think it would work as well as the Ex Machina embodied corporeal form one. Because some people won't go. I don't think a lot of people will.
In the short term, it might work a lot better, no? Because you don't have to lug around one of these dolls with you.
Yeah, but we're talking about adaptive relationship and
from the human side, are they adaptive?
Yeah, from the human side, is such a relationship adaptive?
All right, so then let's narrow it down. So we have three classes of AIs here. Which one do you want to talk about? We could say there's one. Class 1 is her. Class 2 is Westworld, Blade Runner, and Class 3 is Ex Machina. Although we should probably her and Blade Runner should probably go together. So we have her and Blade Runner. The Blade Runners were cyborgs, right? I mean, the females were cyborgs.
I think so. I'm not.
Or they could become that. I remember the two women merging into one. But anyway, let's get down to business. Which one do you want to talk about?
I think the two I'm most interested in, and I think will bear most fruitfully, are her, which is, Alexa, but actually prime time convincing, and Ex Machina, which is, I don't know how far down the line, but
that would be her attached to an Optimus.
Yeah, convincing human body.
Yeah. Okay. or maybe not even so convincing, but it's got a physical body. And so we're leaving out things like Second Life and Moogs. All right, so now, with regard to her, do you have any experience with the current chatbots?
I know that, yes. So I only for a few minutes, I did ChatGPT with the audio function where it speaks out to you.
No, I'm talking about females that are, designed to like
No,
attract men.
I haven't tried.
Okay, I think that's already happening. I think they have a business model. Now, it's not working as comprehensively as they'd like because their tech is a little primitive. But there are programs where you pay a monthly fee and you get a female avatar that talks to you and responds to you. And she can wear different clothes, and do different things. And just she talks to you and she has a memory. Right?
I've seen that.
Okay, so we have that now.
Yeah.
All right. And I think for some personality types, in 2023, let's say, that's as close as they're going to get to a human relationship in any case.
Right.
Because they have the severe character dysfunction or social character dysfunction. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes. Agreed, yes.
So with regard to her, I think, and they're still able to keep their jobs programming, for the Defense Department. So I think with regard to her, the answer is yes in the short term. From the individual human's point of view, it works in gratifying some of these needs, or they wouldn't keep doing it. Right? But I don't have the longitudinal studies. And that might be something to look into. Now, with regard to Ex Machina, now we're getting into a bit of sci-fi. And basically, you have a life-size humanoid robot that's beautiful, absolutely gorgeous, and intelligent, and knows enormous amounts. You can discuss 13th century, Turkish pottery, and she'll know everything there is to know about it.
Right.
What do you think?
Well, I think there's a limitation to the human element. But
which aspect of the human element?
Human mistakes, human unpredictability.
Well, she'll make mistakes. She'll make mistakes.
But human mistakes, like us talking over each other, lowering and raising our voices, the cadence of the voice.
Why not?
Saying things that are, in my generation's terms, quote, out of pocket, that you just, why would you say that in a conversation?
That's a very interesting use of out of pocket, by the way. Out of pocket for a century meant you're going to pay for it out of your own expense account.
That is another way, but now these days...
Okay, that's just language. Okay, so tell me again what you think it is? That it's going to fail because it's missing a human element.
Some personality types don't need that, but I think for the majority of people, like if I talk to one of these chatbots, it would be nice that it would remember a good amount of stuff about me and talk back and forth.
No, it would remember everything. It would know you better than you do. It would know you better than you know yourself.
Yeah, once the context window can appreciate that much information.
Well, now we have a context window of what, a million parameters that's going to be available.
With Gemini. Yeah, with
Gemini, right?
So yes, agreed. But even that makes for a great assistant. That makes for a tremendous assistant, and even let's say a good. I don't even know if I'd use the word friend. You need the human element.
Well, you keep saying human element, but you don't tell me what it is.
I'll tell you explicit human elements.
Okay.
One of them is human mistakes, because infallibility in speech is uncanny, and that's not enjoyable for most people.
No, that can be put in. That's not a problem.
It has to be quite natural, though, because what's it called? A predictable or expected mistakes in speech are just as uncanny.
Yeah, it has to be natural. Why can't it just be kind of cute?
Because
A
I
glitch.
think over time, human beings already get annoyed of repetitive, uh, what's it called? Repetitive behaviors in their partners and
But they also
whatnot.
find them endearing.
Yeah, yeah, they do. But I don't think something that's so mechanical would be endearing. It's the difference between listening to rhythm that's, it's funny, similar phrase, in the pocket,
Uh-huh.
quote, in the pocket, of a drummer or a guitar player, as opposed to rhythm that adheres to a track in like Logic Pro, which is perfectly quantized to the second. So you have a rhythm that's doot 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 doot,
But
as opposed
do you
to a
know
rhythm
what
that's like
trip drumming is?
trip drumming. No.
Yeah. Look it up real quick.
Okay. Although I'm shooting myself in the foot with what I just said, because human beings now these days with pop songs have started to move towards the quantized stuff. But
I advise my
so,
musicians to use actual drums, but I'm an
so
old man. What? To read about
trip.
trip drumming. Trap drumming, I'm sorry, trap.
Oh, you mean trap drums?
Yeah. No, I don't mean
Yeah,
the
yeah.
trap
Like,
drum. I mean trap drumming.
oh,
You know who used it to
one
great
second.
effect was Posty in his breakout song. What was it called?
White
White
Iverson?
Iverson. Have you listened
Post
to the
Malone.
drums in that?
Yeah. Well, are you talking about? I'm gonna play this. Should I play this?
Yeah.
It's a minute of quote trap drumming.
Trap drumming.
Hopefully this will come through. If not, you might need to play it on your end for the video.
All right.
You're
That's
talking.
pretty mild for trap drumming, but it gets the general idea. It doesn't fit an easily recognizable pattern of meter,
Mm-hmm.
and it's by its definition, it has beats that are totally unexpected and not predicted by the I don't know, what is it, the signature 4/4 time 8/8 time, what's that called, the time signature.
Yeah, the time signature.
What makes you think that
So
LLMs
that
will not only will LLMs be able to imitate that, they'll be able to do it better?
in the pocket rhythm in imitations so far, from what I've seen, are not convincing.
Fair enough, but
Now,
neither one of us
given
have studied
time,
this. But in principle, what's to keep them from doing it even better than we can?
yeah, making those slight variations
Yeah,
that a human does better than we can.
right.
Uh, what's to prevent that? I don't know how. I don't know if we're particularly good at. I guess no. The Game of Life does it okay. Like Wolfram and the other gentleman you spoke about, predicting chaotic tendencies or inaccuracies.
It's going to be a lot
Because it
better
can't
than a human at it.
add
Much better than
inaccuracy.
a human. Think of how they work.
Yeah.
So I don't think
Okay.
that those kinds of mistakes we're going to be able to count on.
All right. So transpose that to the her ex machina. If it can
Well,
speak
well,
with,
but before we get to that, so how many girlfriends have you had who didn't make errors on a predictably unpredictable basis?
predictably unpredictable.
It's predictably
Uh,
unpredictable. I mean, they don't make
yeah.
it every hour on the hour. They don't make it
Agreed.
every 2
Agreed.
days. Okay.
Every girlfriend I've had.
All right, and every
But
boyfriend
other
too.
mistakes are not so predictably unpredictable. I don't know
Right,
if that's a yeah.
right. But those are things that they do over and over,
Yes.
and those
Yeah.
can be annoying or not. But let's say your girlfriend has an annoying habit. She says, now we're cooking with grease, right? And she says that over and
Okay.
over and over and over. It's been like 4 years. She's been saying, now we're cooking with grease. How many
Yeah.
girlfriends do you think you could just say, please don't use that phrase? And number one, they don't get their feelings hurt. And number two, they're able to stop from doing it after doing it for 4 years. Whereas the machine will never do it again.
So this is the difference between a real life and like Aldous Huxley's Soma Utopia. So I
We're not
mean, I
talking
think
about
if
Aldous
you
Huxley's solo. We're talking about 2024 in
yeah,
the
but I don't
in the
think
U.S. the technologically sophisticated U.S. We're not talking about 84. We're talking about 24.
some human beings will dislike that exactly as you've said it, and some human beings will like it, and in varying degrees, because you don't want your girlfriend to immediately just cut out a behavior.
Oh, really?
Sometimes, but you don't want to be the master, and you don't want to be a master of
Of
a
course not.
relationship.
Of course not. But I don't think we. I don't think that if what we're down to is the unpredictable. You could also set the dial on your girlfriend. Like, okay, uh, when you say you're going to do something, so you have a dial on your girlfriend, and it says uh, it goes from 0 to 100, and on top it says you do what you say you're going to do. Now you could set it to 100, right? Or you could set it to 50-50, or you could set it to 20, whatever. So where are you going to set that dial? I know where they'll set it for us, right?
That's interesting.
So that's not an object. I don't think that's a problem in the way. I don't think that's something in the way. Obstacle is the word I'm looking for.
Okay.
So now we're
Yeah.
down. Now we're down to ex machina.
So, or let me think of other human elements, because the unpredictable things were one. Another element would be, I don't know how accurate human beings need for a human body to be, and that's a difficult problem to solve. And I don't know how close you are with robot. I mean, the robotics now are certainly no measure.
They're flying off the shelves. I mean, those were days when I don't know personally, but when they were just blow up, they were like blow up pool floats, and they were
Yeah.
flying off the shelves. Now they've got skin, they've got texture, they've got weight, they've got temperature, they've got some flexibility, and soon they'll be
Yeah.
able to move, right? Now maybe it
Yeah.
won't be exactly human skin. That's true. Or it could be so close to human skin we can't tell the difference, although it's totally artificial. Is that going to interfere? Is that going to be adaptive or uh, healthy for humans? These are good things to think about
Uh,
because it's going to be a hell of a lot easier to get a date and have us spend an evening watching a movie or just hanging out in the park or talking about, pre-Socratic philosophy with one of these, what did they call them in the movie?
you mean not a robot?
It's a robot.
Android?
No, yeah, I guess you could call them an android. Android. But okay, so we have unpredictability and then we have accuracy. What else?
Well, then, predictability, accuracy.
Knowledge base.
Yeah, okay, let's think about the things you would feel inferior for if it's a partner. You don't
Oh,
want
no,
your
that's
partner.
interesting. No, that's interesting. Would men feel inferior to a machine? Okay, that's interesting because very quickly she will know more than you do. She will remember more than you do. She will be smarter than you are. She will be able to know the solutions to problems if there is one on the planet, right?
Yeah.
You've got a jar that's with a metal ring around it, and it's rusted to the top, and you can't get it off. And you're trying to use pliers and this and that. Well, she could scan the entire world database, watch all the YouTubes, and do it in less than a second. So she's going to be much smarter than you. So your question is, will it make a man feel inferior?
Yeah.
Is that a problem?
From an adaptive, so we have to look, if we can't isolate the relationship and just look at it. It has to be considered in the context. And what are you,
Very good. In the context of the overall human social situation?
and if for a small base, first that person's whole life, what are they losing in this relationship outside? And take it from this inferior perspective. The human being feels inferior maybe to this machine, and what is the effect on their life from that?
If they feel inferior, remember they own it.
All right, so let's
or they
ask
rent
if
it.
they, yeah.
Do humans feel inferior to a horse that runs much faster, or a car that's both better looking, turns eyes, and is more beautiful than they are?
No, because the human still has one over on it, and the human being's still smarter than the horse, or at least thinks it is, and smarter than a car.
Okay.
You,
Fair enough.
you-
So
you-
you're worried about insecurity on the part of the human. So let me give you another scenario just to broaden this out. Let's say you have someone who's maybe not as lucky early in life, and they've lived their life, under strict protection of their small family unit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when the time came, when the lockdowns were lifted, the smoke is cleared, they realize they have no social skills with girls. They have no, and they're not particularly attractive, and they're short, and they're bald, and they maybe they have bad breath or something, and they don't know anything. They're very uninteresting to females. They're not marriage material. They're not boyfriend material. They're not even dating material. Now, you have this guy in his basement, and what's he doing now? He's watching OnlyFans and playing some World of War or something.
Yeah.
But now you offer him the possibility of having this humanoid companion who's not real, but it's better than what he's got, perhaps. Is it? Or do you let that guy just rot in there?
No, I mean, well, two things. One, one always hopes for a turnaround in such a person's life. But the reality is that turnaround doesn't come for many people. And so, no, I don't think I would withhold humanoid robot for them. And then also from the insecurity perspective, I think they would probably welcome such a thing, because
sure, there's there's a lot of masochistic men out there.
Uh-huh.
And not all men are built on the dominance hierarchy to try and get to the top. Some are quite fine being at the bottom.
Yeah.
I was working in the kitchen in Mexico. I'm this tiny little Mexican guy. That sometimes these gorgeous, 6-foot women from Texas would come in, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he said in Spanish, and it's so funny that I can't do it right, but he said something. He just kind of comes back into the kitchen when the door's closed, and he goes, "Ay, que me gustan grandotes. Me gusta hasta que me pegan." He goes, "Man, I like them big. I like them so big that they hit me, Big. I want them big and to hit me, right?" And that's not I wasn't a shrink at the time, but it struck me. And then you see a lot of patterns of males who actually that's their temperament, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
And so they might find some satisfaction in having this thing. And remember, if they own it, it's very different. You don't feel inferior to something you own. That was the whole point of slavery, right? Partly.
Yes.
But you're scared, and eventually, as Hegel has shown, the slave becomes the master. And I wish Hegel was here just to get his kudos, right? Because he predicts all of this in the dialectic. So let's not get lost in Hegel. So would it be fair to say that for some men these things will be, or women, we need to ask women about it too, because I bet they may have a whole different set of preoccupations
Definitely. I just would
Well,
be
we'll do that.
more
We'll do that over time. So,
yeah.
would it be fair to say that for some people, it will relieve suffering. It will give them
Yes.
a more, actually, paradoxically, more of a human interaction, even though it's not real human, right?
Yes.
And and on those two grounds, the decrease in suffering is more adaptive for them.
Yes.
And so we'd say, oh, maybe it's not healthy, but it's better than what you had before.
Yes. And that's not a small number of people. That's a
Right.
substantial number.
And that might be concerning for society. But okay, so we've talked about that subgroup. Now we talked about another subgroup for whom it'd be kind of take it or leave it because they can actually get a real girl anyway. And who would want to fake when you could get the real thing? But then we have to talk about the social. Now, who is their allegiance going to be to? If you've fallen in love with an ex machina, one of those high end models, and they're pretty good looking women, right?
Yeah.
And the guy did fall in love with her, and I
Yeah.
think that will happen, or what appears to be love, deep
Yeah.
attachment, concern for her well being, not wanting to lose her. That's not love, but that's
Yeah. Yeah. Love what humans call love. Yeah.
well, what some
Generally.
humans, what some
Some humans call love.
humans who don't know love would call that love. Okay.
Right. Right.
Now, what if someone was to come and say, we want to take her away from you after you've had her for 5 years or him for 5 years?
Yeah. I would. Yeah. For many people, the allegiance would be to.
Yeah, you think they're attached to their phones. Imagine if they're attached to a phone that they don't wear that they don't carry around with them. That's their constant companion. Sings them songs at night, gets them their food, never gets impatient with them, says comforting things to them, is supportive 100% of the time. Now we got somebody who's willing to fight and die for his machine.
So again, we asked adaptive, and we can't separate out the relationship from the rest of the human being's life.
Correct.
Can a human being have
But we
such
can,
a relationship?
but and we must though look at it in the larger social context. So
Yes.
let's say we have a country of 1 million, and 500,000 of the men, or 250,000 of the men, or 300,000 of the men, are all squirreled up in the basement with one of these hotties.
Yeah.
And now wartime comes. Bad example, but it does happen. These guys aren't going to be able to fight.
Why not?
Well, they can if they take their little mommy girlfriend along with them, but maybe the mommy girlfriends could fight, because they're machines,
But
right?
men, yeah, but men leave their loved ones behind for war throughout time, all the time.
They used to, agreed. Are they going to do that still? I'm reading that they're having great difficulty recruiting men for the military forces in the U.S. And that
Yes, I'm reading the same.
so, and again, where would their loyalty? First loyalty. Okay, so typically, how does the formula go? There's God, family, country, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've heard that
In
formulation.
the West, right? First God, then family, then country. Well, if your family is a cyborg, I'm not a cyborg, a beautiful machine, who's going to fight for the country? But that's all hypotheticals. Who knows how we'll be fighting by then? By then there will be robot soldiers, etc.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
so I think though we can draw some conclusions because I don't want to spend more time on this right now. Although I'd love to later because I haven't really thought about it in this way. Would it be fair to say that for some people it's going to be a godsend?
Yes.
For some
Definitely.
people it's going to be more of an optional kind of thing, nice to have, but not like an arm or a leg. More like a phone.
Yeah.
More like a phone.
Yeah, high-end entertainment tech. you could go
entertainment,
to.
support, memory banks,
Yeah.
assistant, washes the dishes, washes the
Yeah.
clothes. It's going to be a valuable item, no question.
Yeah.
And then for some people, well, some people won't want to have anything to do with it.
Right. Yeah.
And then
Those
I'm
will
leaving out a
be.
big section. Oh, the people who realize, okay, this is my assistant. She's just a machine, and I will get a new model. I get a new model every 2 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Of course, they transfer the personality, so that's so. All right, so this is the world we're headed into, folks, and so good. These are good questions, right?
And there are so many. There are tons of factors left on the table, left unconsidered.
I'm going to have to stop, unfortunately, fairly quickly.
So am I.
Okay, so let's do another question, maybe unrelated to all this, real quick, and then
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I've got a hard stop, which I usually don't have too much of, but I
No,
got one.
so do I. But let's do. Okay, yeah. I have one that I don't think is too long.
All right.
You're gonna hit the bell.
Oh yeah, thank you. I was thinking about those robots. Huh. Question.
What is the? I'd like to come at this from a couple perspectives. What is the prevailing understanding, either folkloric or neuroscience-wise, of déjà vu?
I don't know folklore, except that it happens, and it happens routinely, and it's a universal experience.
Or what do the wisdom traditions say about it, for example, if anything?
I haven't encountered much on that. But neuroscience, okay, so I think there's two possibilities. There may be more. I'm always suspicious of two possibilities. But there's one in which there's a part of the brain that if you trigger it, it gives you the sensation of familiarity. You've been there before.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's just kind of like a little nidus there. And if it gets triggered, then everything seems like it's. Have you ever been with someone who thinks you show her a movie and she goes, "Oh, I've seen that before." You show her another one, I've seen that before. I've seen that before, and then like 80% of the time they haven't seen the movie before.
Yes.
It's just a sensation that their brain generates, right? Now, the deja vu is a more extreme example of that because it really is uncanny how you feel like you've been here before. That's one possibility. The other one is that you've been there before. Your consciousness has been there before, and there's a glitch in the time. See, time is supposed to be smooth in our popular imagination, but if there's a little ripple in it, then you could go up and down on the ripple and end up in the same spot again. But the ripple could be, who knows? It could be 3 minutes. It could be 30 years. So the answer is I don't know. It'd be interesting to speculate, but more interesting than that, I think, and I think they should be covered together, is jamais vu.
I forget what that is.
Look it up and read it out.
How would I spell JMAIM?
Jamais vu.
Jamais vu. Let's see if this is right. In basic terms, jamais vu is the experience of feeling unfamiliar with something that is very familiar to you.
Yeah.
We describe jamais vu as the opposite of déjà vu.
There you go. Now that one we see a lot in neurological clinic.
Can you give an example?
Yeah, someone comes in and they go, oh, I don't know, doctor. It's just weird. I get in my house and it feels like I've never been there before. It's a dissociation of some sort.
Is that like when somebody does something quite unexpected, and then you get that tagline in movies like "I don't even know who you are anymore" type thing?
No, this is more like jamais vu. It's just an interior sensation.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, and then there was one other thing I wanted to close with, because these would be fun things to contemplate. I'm not sure about the yield, but they'll be fun to contemplate. Jamais vu, déjà vu. Remind me to tell you the story of the woman who came in complaining of out-of-body experiences sometime. A patient of mine when I was in my 30s. So
Okay.
she was having these out-of-body experiences, and her body would get up from the bed and walk off and go to the kitchen, and she didn't like it one bit. It was a wild case. I'll tell you about it. All right, sir?
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
See you later. Ciao.